Are you a self-storage owner or operator looking for service providers to help at your facility? Well, the Storage Business Owners Alliance, also known as the SBOA, has you covered. The SBOA is a premier online hub for connecting self-storage owners and operators to industry-leading products and service providers. We provide one-stop shopping for your business with exclusive offers to save time and money. At the SBOA, we believe by coming together, we help owners and operators grow revenue, gain purchasing power, reduce expenses, improve efficiencies, and increase profitability. We also offer many resources such as our conferences and Self-Storage Unlock webinars to help self-storage owners and operators gain the knowledge needed to become more competitive in the industry. To become an SBOA member or to find out more information, please visit www.thesboa.com today. We can't wait for you to join the Alliance.
Happy Thursday, self-storage industry. You know what time it is. It's time for Self-Storage Unlocked, brought to you by the SBOA. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Jessica Johnson. I'm the Vice President of the Storage Business Owners Alliance, and we put on this webinar series 2 to 3 times a month to help self-storage owners and operators grow their business, learn better ways to operate their facilities, better ways to do projects, construction projects, etc. So we're happy to have you guys here with us today. And today's version, we're going to be talking all about conversion projects and some development stuff, some stuff that you should be doing at your facilities to protect your assets, all kinds of things, construction. So want to thank these speakers and companies that are here with us today. If we didn't have partners like this in the industry, we couldn't put these type of events on. So big shout out to the Feldman Companies, Janus International, CSSI Energy Services, and Postcard. Before I announce our speakers, I want to go over a few quick housekeeping items for you. For anyone that's new, in the right-hand section of your screen, you will see an area comment section. I see some of you already commenting your name and where you're from. If you have questions for the speakers today as we do this panel, please ask those questions live. Feel free to interrupt us with the questions. You don't have to wait to the end. We will answer those live. And then in that area as well, you'll see a tab called polls. If you could take a quick minute and answer the poll questions for us, I would appreciate that. That helps us get to know you and your business a little bit better to see how we can kind of come in and assist you with topics and education for things that you're looking for to learn more about. So it definitely helps us get to know you better. So without further ado, I'm going to get us kicked off, and I'm going to bring up my first speaker, who is Brian from CSSI Energy Services. Say that 3 times fast, Brian. My goodness. Hey, Brian, how are you? You're on mute, so just unmute before you say. There we are.
Sorry. Hey,
worries.
Jessica, thank you very much for the intro.
Sure.
Brian Lyles, Executive Vice President and Principal of CSSI Energy Services. We're a division of Cost Segregation Services, who everybody probably knows, been a long time self-storage member, CSSI. The Energy Services Group, which I represent, specializes in energy projects, really with a focus on lighting controls, and fire life safety for both new construction, retrofits, and of course, today's conversation, conversions. We work nationwide in 40 states, about 40 states a year, including Puerto Rico, Hawaii, and Alaska. So
that's awesome.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being here with us. And I'll bring you back up just in a few seconds after we're done announcing the other speakers. All right. So up next, I have Hans from Janus International Group. Hey there.
Hey, Jessica. Thanks for the intro.
For sure.
So yeah, Hans Matthey. I'm the Northwest Regional Sales Manager for Janus International. We're a global manufacturer of all things self-storage. So your roll-up doors, your unit partitions, hallway systems, portable storage buildings, all of that is made and installed with Janus. So yeah, anything from starting out design services through completion of a project. That's our MO.
Awesome. And you guys also have purchased and not necessarily merged, but Janus owns Betco as well, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Betco is our metal building. So they're the structural side. If you're doing a ground up project, they have a full metal building package that they provide as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here with us today, Hans. I appreciate it. All right. Next up, I have Mitch Feldman. Also was first introduced to me as the King of Miami by Guy Middlebrooks. Okay. Do you remember that?
That's so funny. I wish.
Yeah.
I wish.
Yeah, right.
It's a great place to be king of.
Yes, it is. I agree. Give us a rundown of who you are and what you do in the industry.
Well, my name is Mitch Feldman. I'm a storage developer. I've been developing for 25 years. We've done over 2 million square feet of projects. We have about 1.5 million plus in the pipeline right now. Awesome. Several projects in construction. We've done ground up. We've done conversions. We've built along the East Coast. We've built in Puerto Rico. So we've kind of seen the gambit. We were storage before storage was cool. So
storage is super cool now, right?
Yeah. Cat's out of the bag.
It is. Yeah. The secret sauce is unfortunately leaked into the other CRE sector. So
exactly.
the secrets, it's out, unfortunately, at this point. But we'll welcome them in and we'll teach them the ropes, right?
Sure. Good to be here. Thank you.
Thanks, Mitch. And last but not least, I have Sherry from over at Postguard. Hey, Sherry.
Hello, Jessica and participants. Thanks for having Postguard here. I know we look like just a pretty face with our bollard covers. We've been actually doing this for 20 years. We're celebrating with a big party this weekend, kicking off the next 20 to 40 years of bollard covers. We're very happy to be here. And you've probably seen us at the self-storage shows. I am the director of sales, and I've been to those shows. And really what we want to talk about today is the expansion of a bollard cover, because underneath those bollard covers are steel pipe bollards. And we really come at you today with safety and asset protection in mind. So as you think about your projects, we have to think about how you're going to protect the assets that you're pouring so much of your hard-earned money into. So I look forward to it. I think we have a fun little afternoon ahead. We actually were talking about some bollards that got run over in a parking lot on the way, before the seminar started, the webinar. And so I just think it'll be interesting to hear what everybody has to say with their projects and what their questions are. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. And I'm going to bring everybody back up onto screen and we're going to get this bad boy kicked off. So again, thank you all for being here. And Sherry was referencing Mitch. This was one of your properties, Mitch. I don't know if you want to pull it up on your phone real quick and show everybody, but yes,
I don't know if it's probably not the most sophisticated way of doing it. But we were just talking about it. We had a bollard. This is the after picture, where they bashed through the bollard, but it did protect the hydrant. And this was the actual video. I mean, I don't know if you guys can see this so well. Let me get it set up here. Well, it'll rerun in a second, but we kind of caught it. The guy went right over the bollard.
Oof.
That's a mess.
Man, that's intense.
That was a disaster. Oh. I mean, when I saw that, I watched it over and over like 20 times. It was great.
Yeah. So when people, we have a tenant insurance division. People are always like, oh, that's never going to happen to us until it does happen, right? So those kinds of things are important. But, well, let's dive in. So we're going to talk about conversion projects. And there's a pretty decent supply of these empty, old, big box retail spaces. I mean, malls are becoming a thing of the past. people are doing way more online shopping. So you see Kmart's pulling out of business, big box retailers at the end caps of malls, movie theaters. I mean, you name it. A lot of that had to do with COVID. So I kind of want to just go over first some of the good parts of conversion projects, and I'll kind of go like round table. And if you guys want to just rattle off a couple of your ideas on why you think there's pros to doing conversion projects versus traditional ground up building, we'll start with that, and then we'll see if the audience has anything that they want to add in. So Hans, I'll start with you. What do you think is like one of the major pros of doing a conversion project?
I think one of the big pros is just speed to get the project to the market. If the building's already there, the infrastructure's there, a lot of that major investment is already sitting there as far as, SDC fees with the city and connections and, all that infrastructure. You're done with that. You just need to build it out for storage. We can come in and, get you up and running pretty quick. So.
Yeah, for sure. Mitch, what do you have to add to that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's really, you already have the building, so you're just cutting off time on the construction process and the design process. So it's really time is money. I mean, as a developer, we don't make money until we start stabilizing. So it's really, it gets us to the point of profitability faster. So with that, it reduces all our everything. So time is money, and obviously we're saving a lot of time.
Yeah, absolutely. No, couldn't agree more. How about you, Brian?
Having spent 20 years in the retail sector doing energy projects, most of these facilities that you're going in to convert are already very energy efficient. Okay. 99% of them all have lighting controls in there. All of them have fire life safety materials in there already. So converting over from a lighting perspective and fire life safety is relatively easy, which I think is just a huge, huge opportunity for us to get up and running even faster.
Yeah, absolutely. Sherry, do you have anything you wanted to add in?
Well, I was just going to add that every 30 seconds in this country, a car goes into a facility, whether it be a big box store or a convenience store. So you have to think about how much glass these big box stores do have. They're used to having people being able to look in. So again, I'm from the safety and asset protection portion of this, where you have to think about how you're going to protect your employees and your customers when you do build these out.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good point. All right, let's go same style, same order. We're going to name some of the cons of conversion projects. Hans, what's the biggest barrier you've had that you've seen in conversion projects?
Well, I was going to mention this on the last one too. It's kind of a pro and a con is the
Sure.
unknowns. So you have the building there. So in the sense of the development timeline, you're getting rid of a lot of the unknowns as far as, what are you going to find when you start digging, or what's the city going to require, for infrastructure and that kind of stuff. But depending on what kind of building you're looking to convert, once you start opening up walls, I think that's one of the cons is when you start opening it up and you realize, oh, this plan we had isn't going to work this way. And then you have to go back and kind of restructure it. So it's definitely building dependent, but that can be a con for sure.
Now, with that being a con, and I'll ask this to the entire group, do you, if you're looking at projects like this for an owner operator, do you recommend that they have some sort of contingency plan or a contingency budget that if they do run into something that's unknown, that, oh my gosh, this might cost me an additional, $50,000 or whatever. Do you recommend they do that?
I mean, I would say that the hard cost of a conversion is less than obviously building new. So rather than carrying, say, a 5% contingency, maybe you'll carry a little more. And you'll carry more because it's really what Hans was saying is that while you're in it's hard to make an old building look new. I mean, you can put on a front facade and pretty up the front, paint it, put on some colors. But when you start getting into in the back of a Kmart, in the back of a Walmart, and you have roll up doors that are rusted, or the pads where the trucks used to come on, or the things that are bent up or banged up. And then you're trying to think about at the ends where you're putting your low voltage security, and you're trying to, which doors are you going to activate? How are you going to activate it? Or even moving a bathroom. The bathrooms are these big sort of, prison style bathrooms, I guess. And you need to, you have to put you got to get them either closer to the office, or you don't have a water line that gets to the office to give the managers any water for coffee. So, you got to think of these little things. How are you going to do those things? And until you really do one, you just don't know. I mean, it's so many things start popping up. Yeah,
well, then I think they'll be like unique, right? Too.
What's that?
I said I think like each scenario is going to have its own uniqueness and variances too, because
Totally.
you don't know what you're walking into. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. What were you going to say?
Yeah, no. When you're digging up when you're taking off the tile off the floor, I mean, so many little things pop up.
Yeah. Have you seen any good surprises, Mitch, in your conversions? Like maybe there was like a cool brick wall behind a wall one time that you kept for design purposes, or no?
There was a we did a Kmart, and there was a massive, I don't know, it was a massive room that held their huge air condition, like chiller unit. It was huge. I've never seen anything like that. And originally we were just going to block it off and leave it there. And we just did a financial analysis, and it ended up making sense to spend the money to literally break out an entire wall, remove and cut through all this metal, reconcrete the whole floor, and add more storage. So it's, I mean, it added to the bottom line, but just crazy things we found. I mean, it's like some of them, when you get there the first time, you're walking through these like wooden mezzanine decks, just crazy stuff. But it's fun. They're fun projects.
Awesome.
I just walked through a building that had maybe a 10 by 20 room with a giant bank vault door on it.
Ooh.
And, at first it was kind of like, oh no, wasted space. But, the thought is, use it for marketing, call it bank vault storage, or it's a security kind of fun feature, so to be determined what we do with it. But I thought that was kind of cool.
That's awesome. Brian, I saw you shaking your head as Mitch was talking about, cutting through all that metal and stuff. So what were you going to like add into that? I feel like you're going to add something.
Sure. I mean, it's, anytime you go in somewhere, you just never know what you're going to get yourself into. The nice thing from our perspective, from a lighting perspective, is that the lights are there. We just need to get them in the right spot and everything and bring them down. And that's usually a lot easier than trying to go through and do new lighting layouts and design. As I mentioned before, the controls panels that they have in 99% of all the retail facilities are very, they're really up to date. So it's easy to reprogram those to fit what we're trying to do with the space we've got. Okay. One of the issues, like Mitch was pointing out, hey, if you get into an area where, there's no lighting right now, like we're working on one right now, where they've got self-storage units on one side of the warehouse, and then it's an old Kmart. And then on the other side, they've got it all zoned off for files. They're like a storage company for files. And they've got like all these racks of files sitting there. Okay. And so, they've got different lighting there. Now you got to kind of convert the two. So you just never know. And this place, Mitch, it sounds like where you had your HVAC system, you go back in the back, I mean, there's no lights. I'm walking around with a flashlight going like, what am I getting? There's water on the ground. I'm expected to see bodies back in there and everything. Yeah.
Oh, God.
It's all usable storage space, So it's a matter of making sure that we can get those areas lit. But to your point, you never know what you're going to get until you get into one of those and start pulling product back and pulling walls back.
Yeah. What about, and Sherry, I'm going to come to you in a second as related to like the asset management side of this. And you're working with different interior structures, maybe even exterior structures in these scenarios. But what about, if you're preparing a unit mix and there's weird angles within the way that it's built and irregular unit sizes, are you guys running into that a lot? Or are you kind of just trying to make it as standard of a unit size as possible? Or do you have some weird unit sizes because of some of these design layouts that were already there?
I mean, I can speak on that. So, I mean, the way a lot of these buildings are just simple rectangles, right? But what
Mhm.
happens is they're large. So it's like we had a 1-story, it ended up being 135,000 square feet building. 20,000 of it was a mezzanine, but 115 was ground floor. And you have that video we'll look at afterwards. But you can't load the building from one side. So what we did is we put in both the two last conversions we did, and this one specifically, we put an L-shaped corridor in there where you could drive your car into the building. So you literally drove into what was the Walmart entrance, and we expanded the poles and the columns in the front so you could really get in there. We put bollards there, of course, and you come right in. We had a double entry for heating and cooling, not to escape, but we had a drive-through access, so all the cars that came in were completely covered, protected, and everyone had first floor drive-up units basically. So
Awesome.
we created a premium storage facility by doing that.
Is this the picture of that Walmart you're referencing?
Yeah, so you can even see those two columns in the
Mhm.
drive-through. So those used to be the same distance as the other ones, and you could have fit a
Gotcha.
car through there. It would have worked, but we decided we spent a lot of money moving those columns and reinforcing that the
Structure.
structure, and
Mhm.
we spent a lot of money to do that just to make it a little more convenient. This is when they were moving the poles; they were still there.
Awesome.
So it was really, we spent the money on it. And you can see the floor was a mess. The ceiling was great. Those are the I think those are the new lights actually. I can't
Yeah,
tell if
they look
yeah, I can't tell if those are the old lights. Those might be the old lights, the old halogen lights.
really okay.
Yeah, we replaced all of them. Yeah, those are the new ones with LED.
Very cool. So this was a Walmart, and now it's a
Yeah.
drive-in self-storage facility. How
Yep.
cool is that, right?
Yeah, so then
Love it.
also this was in the Northeast. This was outside of Philly. So one of the issues was when a car or truck comes in, maybe it has some snow on top of the roof, or
Mhm.
so it's holding snow. So when it comes in here, we put this non-skid surface down in the drive aisle. We put in, you can't really see it in the pictures here, but there was these mats. So when you go down the aisles, if you started moving a cart or walking down the aisle, you would go over a mat so it would dry up the cart as you're walking, and those are easily replaceable. So those are things we added at the end as we started thinking about, oh, what are we going to do if something comes in here that's snow on it, or how are we going to handle the water runoff? And
So that's not even something I probably would have thought about going into a
No.
project like this, right?
Yeah, you
Until
don't
it
think about
happens,
it.
and then you're like, oh my God, there's snow in my facility all over
Right.
the place or whatever.
And then you got to think about how you're going to clean it. So when you watch
Yeah.
the video, you'll see how we solve that problem.
Awesome. Yeah, we're going to show some videos here in a minute of some of the conversion projects that Mitch and his team have done. Mitch, thanks for your insight there. Sherry, how about a con from you? I mean, you're walking into, a different non-traditional type storage building. Like, what have you guys seen?
Well, the one thing I was thinking about as I drove by an old Kmart building, and I don't know if this affects you, because I know a lot of people might use the parking lot for portable buildings, but there has got to be 6 access points into that building, because they wanted everybody from each mile road. Here in Detroit, we do mile roads. But 6 access points there. So then, if you do need access control and you need to be able to protect, where the people are coming in and how they're, are they key carding to get in? And I don't know how you work that. I'm just curious.
I mean,
If you have a lot of access.
We had the one entry in and the one entry out. And we had one more door, pedestrian, like kind of if you parked outside in the front where you could bring a cart in. And then the back, we had large roll-up doors and another man door, but those were only accessible if the manager allowed it. So we really kept it locked up and kept our entry and exit points to a minimum. and we felt that the convenience of being inside the drive aisle allowed everyone only to walk to their storage. It was less than 150 feet to any unit. So it was great. I mean, I saw someone in the comments, they asked, how did we deal with the vehicle exhaust?
Yeah, I was
And
going
it
to
was
put that up. Thanks for mentioning
Yeah,
that.
it was interesting because it was that was something that we dealt with also for the first time. So we had to do a special a study, and we put in these special systems over the drive aisles that can really just it sucks out the entire air in the entire building within a certain amount of time. And they had these sensors at people level. So we dropped from the ceiling sensors all the way down to like kind of human level. And if those sensors went off, the exhaust fans would turn on and just start blowing out air. So it was really cool. I mean, we had to think it through, but it was a fun project and it ended up being great.
That's awesome. I want to put this other comment up here, and this is a potential negative from one of the audience members, but I like this one. Removal of a suspended ceiling, you will likely have to reposition all of your sprinkler heads closer to the deck. Have you seen that in your Hans and Mitch, and even Brian? Maybe you've seen it in some of your projects that you've done.
Yeah, from the lighting perspective, when you remove the ceiling like that, it depends on if the sprinkler heads are pointed up or they're pointed down, because you have a different circumference that you have to place the fixtures away from the sprinkler heads. So that is something you do have to take in consideration, but it's pretty easy to get around that and just work with your different spacing on there.
Awesome.
Right.
I want to ask this question.
When we did
Go ahead, Mitch.
I was gonna say, when we did the Kmart, they had the sprinkler heads to the what do you call it? The ceiling, the hanging ceiling, the suspended
The drop
ceiling?
Drop
Yeah,
ceiling.
right. So what we did is our GC ended up just flipping the sprinklers around and adding the small pipes on top. So we didn't have to lower them down to the units. We actually flipped them around and just shortened them to get the coverage that we needed to cover the units.
Right. Good.
Cool. I'm going to ask this question. This is from Dennis. Can you convert a building 3 to 4 floors? I think he means 3 floors to 4, possibly by that. Anyone want to touch on that one?
I'm going to say absolutely, but you're a glutton for punishment. I mean, it's absolutely doable. It's almost like a new construction project at that point, because you're likely tearing off a roof, adding floors. You're going to have structural engineering. You're essentially building a new building.
I think it's easier to put the mez deck in, right?
Yeah. So I kind of wanted to touch on, I guess, your options in a conversion. When I walk into a new space with somebody that's looking to convert it, the most tried and true is a lot of those pictures that you had on the screen is kind of that single level storage. A lot of times you end up with a lot of space above you if you're doing these big box warehouses. That's what we see most commonly in the industry. If you want to go vertical, a lot of these have the space for a mezzanine system where you can get 2 floors of storage. When you do that, you're adding quite a bit of complication, and you got to make sure it pencils, because the one biggest thing to consider is the cost for an elevator or some type of lift. People don't want to be carrying a couch upstairs, so you're not going to get good rents unless you have good access. So I know that's a common question and consideration we're constantly looking at with conversions, as does it make sense to do a second floor? Along with that, going back to fire sprinklers, you're probably going to have to drop in sprinklers for your first floor units. So making sure you have enough water to do that. Also, does your slab support it? Making sure that the structure that's there will support a second floor. So I know a lot of people get really excited about going a mezzanine, and it can be really great to add a lot of square footage into a project, but there's a lot of gotchas to consider before you get too far in on that. And then
Hans, we had talked during the planning call, you just mentioned like that, the one level, but you still have a lot of room, between maybe that first level of storage and like the ceiling, but you talked about potentially putting that second layer of like the smaller lockers above. However, that has its own barriers too, right? Because they don't lease up very quickly in some scenarios. And then you have to get like a laddering system for people to get in and out of these lockers to get their stuff. Talk about that a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah. So upper lockers, if you imagine say you have a standard 10 by 10 unit on the ground level, above that, we can build 2 5 by 5 by 4 tall. So they're, small little, a lot of times it's a swing door. We could do a small rolling door on it. Those are designed for reach-in storage. So, they're not, that's why we limit the depth of them. They don't go 10 feet back because you don't want people crawling and walking on it. They can be great. I thought when I first saw it, I thought this is stupid. It was going to rent, a tiny little locker, but then I kept walking through the facility and I just saw locks on all of them. And I was like, oh, I guess people do. And so the feedback I've gotten from owners is exactly that. It rents slower, but they will rent up. So you have to, kind of be ready for that. They're going to do better in, well, like all storage in urban environments or more dense populations, but anywhere where there's smaller housing, you're going to do better with smaller storage.
Yeah.
But start thinking about it more. It's great for Christmas decorations or just those small boxes that you visit a couple times a year, and so it's a great way of using that extra space above you. I would just caution how much you put in. A facility the size of Mitchell's there with the drive-through, it looks like that's pretty expansive. I don't know that I would consider putting those everywhere,
Right.
because I don't, unless you had a market that really supported that. But
support it, yeah. Let's talk about some of the opposition that you potentially would get on these projects from the local community. Maybe they want a gym there instead of self-storage, or they want new restaurants or a new shopping center. And then some of the opposition that you see even from the city level. What have you guys seen out there?
Anyone?
Go ahead,
looking
Mitch.
at you, Mitch. I think you got the most experience on that.
No, I guess
Yeah.
what are we seeing as far as out there? I mean, that's the question, right? What's out there as far as product? Well, I got a call actually today from someone who has an 80,000 square foot shopping center. It's got 50,000 vacant space in it. And, he's sending it to me. But, we see them every day. There's stuff out there every day. People are sending big boxes or a movie theater, Dick's Sporting Goods we've looked at. I mean, just one, Sears, Kmart, one after one. And, it's got to work. The numbers have to work. The market has to make sense. The logistics have to make sense. The legal structure of the ownership has to make sense. If you're buying a whole shopping center, the other retail aspect has to make sense. You have to figure out what you're going to do with the parking lot. We have one that we're looking at buying right now that we're talking about putting another 80,000 square feet of retail in the front. So, so we'll end up with 120 or 130,000 square feet of storage. And then we're putting, a large retail piece in the front. So, it becomes complicated. So not everyone can handle that. You need to be able to really analyze it. I mean, all of us in storage, we know what's a good deal. What's the supply, what's the demand, what's the vacancies, what are the rents, and we all know the math. Everyone can figure that out. But it's the complicated part of how to make the legal structure work. What are you going to do with the out parcel? What are you going to do with the cross easements? How are you going to handle the maintenance of your large parking field where the other shopping tenants are sharing with you? So there's a lot of it that gets complicated that you really have to navigate through. So I think there's product out there, and I mean, we're seeing bad deals getting done also. People are just chasing them and doing them, deals that we wouldn't do at all. And we'll see what happens.
So, Mitch, in that scenario that you're talking about, the 80,000 square feet of storage, and then, or I don't remember the exact numbers you just spat off, but then retail on the front, are you then, you own the whole building. So you're the landlord on the retail space too. And then you're then flipping that and renting and leasing that out as well?
Yeah, I mean, well, we're storage developers, but we develop multifamily. I mean, we
Okay.
have a few multifamily ground up developments we're doing. We've done a little retail. So we're capable of doing it. So I mean, we've done it before, and so we're looking for those kind of deals. We do complicated stuff that have zoning problems and environmental problems. We're problem seekers, and I think that's where you get value. Also, I mean, when you find something with a problem that only you can fix or not many people can fix, you're creating value for you and your investors.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Sherry, I'm going to jump over to you and we're going to just talk about some of those key areas, whether this is a conversion project or just a standard project, but just for some of our owners and operators out there, because we get a lot of new ones that are coming into the space that might not necessarily know those particular assets that they should be protecting. So talk me through some of those. Like, I'll start with the first one that comes to my mind is my access control box out at my gate. I definitely don't want someone running that over, right? Because then it has to all be rewired, my gate's down. What are some of the other areas that you recommend?
Right. So you're right, Jessica. When you come in there to your keypad, you're going to want to put some steel bollards. We have some that are surface mount. They can just, excuse me, you can just bore right into the concrete. And it's the same thing with every storage facility. You've got corners on the buildings, and they are, you've got novice drivers of vehicles, big vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
And the, you're laughing, Hans, but yeah, maybe you've seen, your corners of the building take out because people just don't realize what the turning radius of a truck is. So we put, frequently you see steel bollards there. And then we cover them with I keep thinking they're over here, but they're over here, the plastic bollard covers. And then when you have those steel bollards, they tend to get rusty quick because they're out in the elements. So then we rely on our customers to tell us what colors they want. And frequently people like to match the colors of the building or the doors or the theme. If it's the vault, maybe it's gray, if it's a bank vault, or, if you just need the caution colors, you use that. So on the outside of the building, you might see those in front of every door, and you might see them on every corner. And then on the interior, we do have, if you need to protect the corners on the interior, we have some bollards that are low footprint. So they're just a cylinder that you core right. You don't even core it. You just place it right into the corners, and it's no trip hazards. They're just really a cylinder right there. So that's something that we recommend. Additionally, we also have speed bumps that you can use to slow down traffic, because
Smart.
Regardless of what vehicle you're driving, everybody's in a hurry. So we have ones that slow people down 10 to 15 miles per hour or 2 to 5 miles per hour.
Very cool. And it's funny, Sherry, we had a call a couple of weeks ago, and you said when you first started, or when Postcard first started, it was the traditional like caution colors like red and yellow. But when you guys got into self-storage, you now have colors like purple and orange because you're matching some of those major self-storage brands out there. So basically Postcard can probably source whatever color that would be complementary to the branding colors of the actual facility, correct?
Correct. We have 14 colors, and it has been driven by the colors on the door of the self-storage industries or logos. So yeah. We try not to get too crazy. We don't do stripes or anything multicolored, but we can always change out the stripes on the bollard. As you see, we have a red one in back, white stripes, and those are reflective, helps for daytime and nighttime as we head into the fall with less light.
Okay. Well, let's
Hey-
let's talk about light. Go ahead, Brian. Did you have something you
Hey,
want to
hey
say?
Mitch, when you did your facility, did you put bollards or speed bumps in there? I didn't see any.
We didn't put speed bumps, but it's probably a good idea. It would have been a good idea to do that. We have bollards. That picture didn't have them, but there were
Okay.
bollards on the corners, and then I
Right.
think periodically throughout, like where all the hallways were, the aisles.
Right.
So we had bollards in there, especially in the front. Speed bumps are a great idea.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah,
There
they
you
do.
go,
I didn't
Sharon.
even think about
There's a lead for you.
that. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's a
Write it
good
down.
idea.
Yeah, Brian, let's move over to you and talk about the energy services and LED lighting. And when you're going into these, they're traditionally old retail spaces of some sort. Like Mitch said, maybe it's a Dick's Sporting Goods, a Kmart, an old grocery store, old movie theater. So all of them are going to have different levels of what they deem energy efficient for their own operations.
Mhm.
For us, if it's downtime and it's late at night, there's the motion detector lights, we want those up and working, but there's really no need to have a lot of lighting going on at those particular times. So talk me through some of that.
Sure. And I think that's one of the negatives of going to a big box and converting is because their lighting is all zoned based upon how the store's laid out.
Sure.
Okay. Now you're going to have to interrupt circuits and rewire rows so that they're in the same row that match where your aisles are. Okay.
Yeah.
If you go into something like a J.C. Penney's, which is more of a true, clothing retailer, you're going to have more trover fixtures. Like if you go into, and I think the Kmart picture, Walmart, whatever it was Mitch showed earlier, those are all high bay fixtures. Okay. You see those in a lot of warehouses. Okay. So those are easy to maneuver. You could use the same style fixture, convert to LED. Sometimes you want to drop those down. We like to put sensors on those so that we can light aisleways up as people are walking up and down, but we don't want to turn them all off. Okay. So what I like to do is when I do a project, I don't turn a light off when no one's in the area. I turn it down to 10%. So there's still some ambient light. And the nice thing is that still gets you past the fire life safety regulations of maintaining at least 1 foot candle at the floor level. So there's some light there. It never goes dark. But to your point, we want to just affect the lighting where the people are at and not try to light the entire place up. So we do have to sometimes rewire the lighting fixtures to get in conjunction with the way the storage units are set up.
Gotcha. Now, Mitch, when we talked the other day, you said, I don't know if this is all of your conversion projects or maybe it was just a few of them, you tend to go in and take out all the current electric and rewire. That's kind of like your strategy.
Well, not necessarily rewire the whole thing, but definitely the lights. Those
Okay.
big halogen lights you can't dim, and it takes a while to when they turn off and turn them on. So we're changing them to all LED. We haven't found a project yet that we haven't had to rework the lighting.
Awesome.
We're adding in lights. We're dropping them lower. I mean, I can't say that I'm an expert in lighting. Brian's got to kind of take that role, but I mean, we do our best to be cost efficient on what work we're doing,
Sure.
and we want facilities to look new. We spend a lot. We spend money making them look new. I mean, when we took out the ceiling tiles and the Kmart, we found the whole ceiling that was. And we were redoing the whole ceiling anyway, and we saw it was like brown and rusty and dirty. It was sitting up there for I don't know how many years, and we ended up coming in just painting the whole thing white. So that was kind of a change order that we added. But I walked in there, and I'm like, it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
Nasty. So you got to fix it up. The lighting's important. It gives that's the first thing people notice when they walk in. Is it bright? Is it white? Is it light? You don't want people lurking around the corners, creeping out. So it's you need lighting.
And that's the security issue I was talking about. That's why I don't ever like turning lights totally off in areas, because there's a security. You feel good, you feel safe. Okay, and we want our tenants to feel safe when they're on our properties and on our sites.
Let me tell you what, I rented the local Extra Space. I'm not going in that bad boy late at night by myself because I'm a scaredy cat and I would turn the corner. And if it was not lit properly, I would be scared of my own shadows. So
Right.
I feel that on a lot of different levels for sure.
When I go do audits of existing facilities, I'm like walking halfway down an aisle, 300 feet long, and the lights aren't even turning on yet. You know, and I'm looking back,
gosh.
it's dark one way, it's dark the other way. I go like, wow.
I mean, that's something to consider on the consumer perspective. If that were me, I mean, I'm a 5'1", barely female. Maybe I go there late at night. I'm not going to like that facility for myself because I'm not going to feel safe, you know?
Right.
And John asked a question. John's over from our team here at the SBOA. Hey, John, he's asking, is solar an economically viable consideration given the large roof area?
Sure. Yeah, for sure. You know, you have a huge roof line, you know, tremendous amount of space up there. Solar projects really depend on what state you're in, how much the PUCs, local utility companies and PUCs are giving back for rebates. Those really make those pan out. What I tell everybody though, if you're going to do solar, make the building envelope first as efficient as possible, because then you need less solar to supply yourself, but you can also then sell more back into the grid. Okay. So, you know, you always want to take a look at, contact your local utility company, ask if you can sell the power back that you don't use. You know, unfortunately, we have to sell it back at below wholesale price. You know, we're buying it retail. So it's not a penny for penny or dollar for dollar. It's more like 2 cents on a dollar, you know, but you're still able to do that. But because of that, and the other thing you need to look at too is what position the building's in, because, you know, the sun travels east to west. You want to get as much time in the sun as possible when you're looking at your roof lines.
Awesome. And I know none of you really work in like the HVAC sector, but are you finding when you go into these potential conversions, is the HVAC that's currently installed enough? Is it not enough?
It's overkill, because
Is
that's all conditioned space, you know, and I mean, conditioned for people in there 12 hours a day, shopping, working and everything. So it's really overkill. I mean, Mitch was telling the story where he had to haul out the big HVAC system, the chiller system. You know, you don't need a chiller.
I've never bought one with a working AC system.
I hope you're getting good prices.
But it might not work.
Listen, you made more money taking that thing out and selling it than you did like renting it out.
Yeah, no. Hey, I'm gonna push this over to both Hans and Mitch just to kind of, and listen, we're gonna talk big average here, right? Like I don't expect it to be on the dollar, but what are the current like national averages or even averages you're seeing in your local markets to do a conversion project per square foot?
Oh, hold on. I get my pen and my paper out. Hans, I'm holding you to it. Let's go, buddy. How much? Let's go.
Well,
What do you got? Talk cheap, bro. Talk cheap.
I can throw out a number I can guarantee.
I got it. Let's go. Right now.
Yeah, I'm not saying a guaranteed number, but like a ballpark, because we get asked these questions all the time, like how much per square foot, how much per square foot, you know, and I know there's variables too within that, right? But give me like some ballpark numbers for the audience.
So I'll speak to what I'm seeing just on an average of some of the projects I've done lately. So I guess from a big range, probably $9 to like $16 a square foot. Most reasonably, a project with a kind of standard unit mix that's not doing anything funky is probably going to be around 11, and that's based on gross square footage. So some of the things that change that cost are, one, are you going to go higher? You know, our standard system is 8'4". That gets you a 7-foot tall roll up door. Some people like to go 10 feet and kind of just has that. It's more of an aesthetic thing at that point. So, you know, if you're going higher, you're going to be bumping that up probably closer to 12, 13. You know, and then the other thing is unit mix. So that 11, that's kind of a good industry standard. You've got a good mix of 5x5s to 10x20s. But if you got all 10 by 20s in there, you might be getting that down to $8 or $9 a square foot because it's just a lot less material. So, and then the step further, so that's based on your gross square footage. When you're doing your design, if you're doing all kind of just pedestrian hallways, nothing like a vehicle drive through, normally we see probably 70 to 75% efficiency. So for 100,000 square feet, you're 70,000 square foot net rentable once you account for all the hallways and things like that. So I think if you take those numbers and kind of put in your market rents, you can get a pretty good rough idea.
Awesome.
And to be clear, that's Janus systems. So that's your unit partitions, all your walls in between units, all your hallway systems, roll up doors, and then we do a wire mesh ceiling over the top of the units for security. So on top of that, you got to then start thinking, your lighting, your HVAC, your beautification of the outside, signage, things like that.
Do you guys find beautification hard on these projects?
A lot of what we do is we do a lot of dummy doors. So just that corrugated door material built out of a frame, and we'll, if you got a big empty concrete wall, we'll just space out 6 of them or something. And it kind of flashes self-storage. So when people are driving by, they, it draws their attention instead of trying to read the sign of, hey, what is that over there? People kind of get it, but beyond that, I don't know Mitch's experience trying to shine them up.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not doing structural work or real work to the facade, it's not so bad. I mean, it's really paint. It's paint and cleanup. But it depends on what you want to do with it. I mean, we'll spend money if we have to. If not, we try to keep it clean. But you can make them look nice and new without going overboard.
Yeah. Do you see a lot of that? You talked earlier, Mitch, that there's a lot of parking space, and in some of those scenarios, it is shared parking space that you would have to share with other tenants. But let's say it is part of your parcel, it's your parking. Are you seeing people converting that into boat and RV in most scenarios? Are they trying to put like an additional building there? What are you doing with that space?
So I think that a lot of if you're part of a larger shopping center, the other tenants don't want to see boat and RV out front, and they don't want to see single story, drive up units up front either. So that gets sensitive. And also they don't want you to build something in front that might block them or block their view.
Sure.
There might be restrictions within the leases or within the documents. So a lot of these, if you're buying it together as part of a building, you have condo docs, and you really got to draft them and get into it and understand the ins and outs of the condo docs and the management of it. If you're buying it fee simple, a lot of times there's already, deed restrictions or overlays that you have to work through. So there's a lot of legal nuances, I think, that comes with each of these. If you're part of it, if it's freestanding, it's a different story. But if you're part of a bigger project, you really got to play around with it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes total sense. Well, I wanted to show Mitch's videos real quick, just to kind of share with the audience before we conclude some of his projects that came to life. So let me see if I can get my screen up here. There we go. Let's see. All right, Mitch, we're going to start with Liberty Plaza. And since I can't get the music to work, kind of just, you can be the narrator in the background. How about that?
All right. Okay, sounds good. I'll walk you through it. So this looks like the after shots before the sign went up. What was cool is we put that drive-through right in the middle. There was 2 doors over there. So it was I can't see. There we go. There were 2 doors so we could keep the air out. The office was on the left, and it was just clean. We did the whole thing white, and you can't really see the chicken wire on top here, but they're all covered and protected. We had the big drive aisle. You had the hallways on the sides. So everything was ground floor. Really accessible units, and it came out great. The lights in here we kept up high, and we were able to get the really the lighting that we wanted. We had to put in a 2-hour firewall in between the part of the building. That's how we kept the floor dry. That was our sweeper. That was always fun. Fun little toy to play with. And that's kind of the project. You can see up top there the NOx system for the carbon emissions. And this was our huge parking lot. So in this case, we actually owned the parking lot, and we owned it fee simple. So we were able to build an expansion if we wanted to, or put retail in the front. That was coming later. But we redid the entire roof during the project as well. It came out great. We're happy with it.
No, that's awesome. So you said that was the after, but I think we have some before footage on this one, correct? Or maybe not on that one. Hold on, I have Mantua.
Oh, here's Mantua. This one's in between.
This is
right,
in
that
between.
was the in between one. Yeah, I can see half the roof is done.
Okay, hold on a second. So this is the in between, and then we'll show the final one, and then we're gonna wrap up everybody. But I want to play these because I love these. They look so good. Hold on one second. Here we go.
So here we bought the building in the back, and the owner of the shopping center kept that front piece, and he put an AutoZone. So he kept the front for himself and just sold us the back building with maybe the first few rows of parking.
Okay.
Here we also had the garden center on the side, and we made that area a gated loading area. So we had 2 loading areas here.
It's giving me trouble playing the video for some odd reason in Vimeo, but well, let's see if I can get the finished product. Maybe that'll play.
Yeah, that was a cube in the front.
There we go.
Yes, that's after the roof was done. The front sign's not on yet in this picture. That's the completed AutoZone. And you can see so here we had the same kind of lights. You can see we painted the ceiling white. It was really horrible looking. So we kind of ran in there fast and put in those lights, put in the ceiling paint. But this came out beautiful. We do everything white. We also put speakers, music in the hallway. So it's kind of more appealing as well. That's something that we do in all our facilities. This was some shots of the grand opening. My boys. And that's the drive-through entrance. And this
Look
one
at all those bollards.
Yeah, exactly.
Jerry,
This had on the side there, it also had the auto, the Kmart used to have the auto departments. So those garage doors led into pistons that were in the ground for the lifts. So we had to remove those. We had to clean it environmentally and deal with that as well. So that's just something to be aware of when you're converting the projects that have the car service areas.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, I love these. And well, we ran out of time, guys. We are right on the hour mark. Thank you. I think we could probably keep talking about this because there's a lot of this space out there, and there's a lot of owner operators looking to make this their way of their model of growth. They don't want to build ground up. They don't want to acquire facilities that are already there. They want to take on the challenge of some of these different projects out there. So thank you all so much for giving us your insight. I'm going to do a few quick announcements before we wrap this one up. We will all be in Las Vegas. I think it's like 2.5 weeks away now for SSA's fall conference. So that is September the 6th. Oh, that's the wrong one. Sorry about that. Here we go. Where is it? September 6th through the 9th, MGM Grand Las Vegas. The SBOA is at booth 154. Postcard is at booth 631. CSSI, Cost Seg and Energy Services is at 335 and 337.
355.
And then Hans, what is it?
355. And
355 and 357. See, I think I have dyslexia. And then Hans, yours, I had it earlier, but I know Janice will be there and Becco as well. So we highly encourage.
You won't miss us.
Yeah,
I'm
you
sure it's the
definitely won't
front
miss
door.
them. You won't miss them. So definitely come to Vegas if you are in this industry and you want more education, be part of your national association. At a minimum, at least join your state level association. There's so much advocacy that associations can do for you from a legal perspective, a lobbyist perspective, etc. We are back next week, August 25th, for our series Storage for Rookies. It's from 12 to 5. If you are a newer owner or operator in the space, or you're looking to expand your portfolio, this training series is for you. Again, this is powered by the SBOA. It's really just giving the building blocks of how to get into the industry and how to succeed and do well. And final announcement, we will be back in 2 weeks from today for Self-Storage Unlocked. That will be on Thursday, September the 1st. We always do these from 2 to 3 on Thursdays. And this one's going to be talking about how to motivate your team to sell. I have Raheem from Mini Mall Storage. I have Scott McLaughlin coming with us. Who else do I have? Iris, I might need you to jump in and remind me who our speakers are. But we have great speakers coming your way. Rick Beal from Atomic will be on that one, as well as Alex Herbs from Herbs Management Group. So please go out to our website and register for these events if any of those are of interest to you. Again, thank you guys so much for joining us today and giving us all the information. If anyone wants to get in touch with any of today's speakers to learn more about their services and products, it will be in the YouTube link that we post on our YouTube page tomorrow, as well as in our replay of this webinar in our newsletter that we send out next week. Thank you, everyone. Again, have a great rest of your Thursday. We'll see you guys back in 2 weeks for Self-Storage Unlocked. Take care.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Jess.
Thank you, Jess.